The next speaker is Mr. Rudy Hemeleers, a strategy and policy advisor at 51biz Luxembourg. Rudy is a management consultant and policy advisor with the expertise in air cargo, road and inland navigation transport, and will guide you how eFTI transforms into EU mobility data space. So please, Rudy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I have in this presentation 15 minutes, 30 slides, but 3 messages. Message number 1 is there is an opportunity to use the eFTI platforms, not only to share data with government authorities, but also with other logistics companies. Message number 2 is that we are driving straight ahead to use the internet to share data between access points, between platforms. Number 3 is focus on the ECMR process, on the process, not only on sharing data with one or the other. So let's use the 15 minutes for the most important slide, which is not that one, which is not that one, or maybe saying that we are making a bridge between the federated consortium, where we introduced the concept of sharing data between platforms. We are right now in the eFTI for EU consortium. Thank you very much, Eva, for taking the lead on this. And we are also now heading to another consortium, whereby we are going to focus more on how to integrate the businesses in sharing data. So this is my core business. I'm working in the air cargo environment, multimodal environment. But what you see here is that everyone is now sharing data by using APIs, by using nodes, by using eFTI platforms, whereby we see that the government authorities, they are setting up eFTI gates to share data between the platforms and the gates. What we need for that is a data sharing architecture. What we also need for that is an European harmonized regulatory environment, and that's of course eFTI. If you look at it from the perspective of DG Move, of Europe, we see that there are a large number of initiatives. I don't think that there is anyone in Brussels who has an idea how many there are. Yeah? But one of the things is that they all are aiming to share information between each other. This is one of the things we will also do in eFTI for All, is to share data between, of course, the eFTI environment, which is here, and all the other environments. Let me go on. The governments, they are preparing, because also from their side, they want to integrate all the different controls. They want to integrate eFTI, they want to integrate the tachonet, they want to integrate drivers' times, and for that, they need to have an environment where existing platforms can share data. So the DTLF, a group of 120 experts, has defined 2 priorities. Of course, priority number 1 is eFTI, is to go to harmonize regulation. This is where eFTI comes in. But there is a second one, which is necessary, otherwise eFTI will not fly. We also need to make sure we have a harmonized data integration environment, which is harmonized over Europe. And that's where the federated concept of platforms is coming in. So the most important document, at least if you're working in road, but also in other modes, is the CMR. The CMR is a document which is a document, it's a transport document. When you are a driver, you pick up some goods in a place of loading, you want to have this document signed by the one who is giving you the goods and the one who is driving, to make sure that you have a proof which goods and which information that you have received. So once you have that document, you can do a lot of things with that information. You can do a lot of things. It's an agreement between the parties. It's also a record of the goods receipt. It's a basis for invoicing. It allows you to demonstrate the transport to be compliant with a number of EU regulations. That's where eFTI comes in. But also it is a document, it is a data set now, which is used for customs reporting, for border control reporting, and of course for VAT. Quite an important document. The Benelux ECMR providers, they are working. They have about 1 million ECMRs on an annual basis right now. And a study of the Union of the Companies, Federation of Companies, calculated in 2019 already that economic operators, they can save up to €13 on the average when switching from paper to digital documents. And why can they do that? There are two reasons for that. First reason is that we see that a number of providers, the eFTI platforms, they are offering more and more some cloud-based services, that allow all the participants, border control, public police authorities, the other modes of transport, the warehouse managers, to share data in real time or close to real time. When the truck picks up some goods on the left side, immediately the policemen, the authorities on the right side, they can have access to the latest information. This is what is happening with an evolution. If you want to make it complex, if I would have the rest of the day, I would also speak about the upcoming digital wallets where we are storing certificates and license information. But I'm told to keep it simple, and let's keep it simple and go forward like that. But this is it. So the eFTI platforms allow to share information with the authorities in such a way that the authorities have a direct access to the eFTI data sets, which are stored by the road services provider, but also by the shipper and the forwarders. Let's go on and have a look at that. In reality, this is one of the most important slides of this presentation, because we see that the ECMR, it's not only a document, it's only a data set, it's a process. It's a process which has an opportunity to be harmonized also, whereby there are transport orders, whereby there are manifests, there are goods receipts, there are proof of deliveries. Yeah? But the process itself has a certain characteristic when you make it electronic. That is that there are two things. All information is immediately available for all parties. But also, when the goods are delivered, the carrier can immediately invoice for the transport. And invoicing in transport companies, that's important, because then you get the money. But also, if there are some problems, some goods are missing, you have immediately a trace of what is missing, so the invoice process is no basis for disputes or even to the point of legislation. So, back to eFTI. eFTI, we have gates, we have platforms, and we see that right now, in the current approach, every member state, the 27 member states, some are going to work together, some are going to have to, they are creating a gate. A gate is a gate is a gate where the economic operators, the eFTI platforms, can share information with that gate, but then also with all the parties on a European basis. There are many Lithuanian trucks driving around in the west part where I'm living in Europe. So that means that a French, for instance, or Luxembourgish or Spanish control authority will be connected to a gate in France, in Luxembourg, but have an access to the eFTI platform, to the cloud platform of a Lithuanian company, where there is also a Lithuanian gate. This is what is happening. One connection in the member states. All control authorities have access to where they have, for the information, where they are authorized, and the whole thing is not yet mandatory for economic operators. But be aware, I think that there is going to be a movement to make it mandatory at a certain moment also. It's just a question of time at that moment. So have a look at with an other view on this picture. So we have 27 gates. They are connecting in what is called the eFTI exchange environment. And this eFTI exchange environment consists of gates. We talked about it. These gates, they communicate with each other. Yeah? The gates, an authority here in Lithuania has access to the Lithuanian gate, and the Lithuanian gate can have access to the Greek gate, and the Greek gate then has access to a Greek truck operator, which is presenting then the transport information from Greece to here in Lithuania. This is how the environment will work. Do I have a minute for that? Yes. Why this unique identifier registers? It looks a little bit complex, but it is not. The idea is, like Eva explained, that the environment aims to use the vehicle registration ID of the truck or of the trailer. I also have to say of the barge or the train, because the whole environment is applicable in all modes of transport, and use that information, for instance, that an LT and a number plate is related to a certain eFTI platform, so that that information can be used to access the information on the eFTI platform. Maybe I didn't stress too much on that, but the data stays on the platform of the economic operator, in most of the cases, the carrier, of course. Yeah. So let's go on. Back to federated. In the federated environment, we have been working for 5 years on a project, also with a quite significant budget, not only federated, but also the Phoenix project, whereby we have explored the opportunity that platforms can be private, platforms can be public, they share information with each other through nodes. So they communicate in a peer-to-peer environment by just using the internet. We have some core components together, a registration authority, we have some index information, but they communicate together in a peer-to-peer environment. So we see that there is a lot of autonomy in such an environment. There is a lot of flexibility in that environment. Of course, 2 years ago, we were a little bit too early to apply this environment already for eFTI, but it is expected with the EU mobility data space movement that in 3 to 5 years we will have a movement from the eFTI delivery environment to be extended also to the EU mobility environment, whereby the platforms communicate to each other over the internet. That's what is on there. I can make that very complex. You can ask very complex questions about that, but let's go on. So let's come back to the most important slide for today. So I tried to explain that we are building with eFTI for EU, with eFTI for all. We are building the eFTI exchange environment, which consists of 27 gates. There could be 28, could be less, if some, for instance, inland navigation maybe is going to build one for its own. But let's say there are 27 gates. An authority connects to one gate. The Lithuanian authorities connect to the Lithuanian gate. The Spanish authorities to the Spanish gate. And the eFTI platforms, where the economic operators share data from their ECMR, from their ERP, SAP, Navision, or Oracle, or transport management systems. They are using eFTI platforms. They must be certified, these eFTI platforms. It's not mandatory to share data also with their national gate in such a way that the authorities can access that information. This is what must be built by the authorities, not by the economic operators, by 2027. We will which is far away, you think, but 30 months is nothing in the public sector, of course, because all 27 member states should be there. So we see in practice that most of these eFTI platforms are going to share data with APIs. Even in the case of e-delivery and AS4, we have an, sorry for the technical 1 second, we have a SOAP web service interface, but it's still also an interface using an API to share the information. So this is quite expensive for governments, for private companies to build, if we are not going to be 1000% sure that it will be used and adopted by all the parties. But fortunately, we think that will not be the case, because we see there that the eFTI platforms, these are sometimes large companies, they are sometimes TMS systems, they are sometimes European platforms, single window platforms, port community systems. They are preparing not only to share data with authorities, but also between themselves. And so in the second part of this slide, we see there that the eFTI platforms, they are also preparing to share data between each other by using also APIs in an Internet of Logistics environment in such a way that an ERP system of, for instance, Volkswagen in Spain, to just take one, can share data with, for instance, a Volkswagen or a customer in Germany in such a way that we have also a business-to-business integration. We expect that this is going to be one of the big deliverables. Oh, that word is, I should avoid that one, in eFTI for all, because that's where the money is. This is where the money is for the economic operators, because that's what they need also to share data between themselves. In the case of ECMRs, for instance, in the case of invoices. I'm just also repeating what's one little thing out of last week's presentation. We also expect that the e-invoicing platforms, like PayPal, or there are many of them, they will also have a gateway, an API, with one of the gates, or with several gates, in such a way to be able to share data between each other, and also to share data with authorities. So what you see here on this picture is that an eFTI platform is expected to have several APIs. An API to share data with governments, with the eFTI gate, but also APIs to share data with other platforms like e-invoicing or maybe emission reporting. And also we see there that the authorities themselves probably will also have more and more access through this eFTI. The eFTI platforms are key. So let me summarize that. Yeah, just I take the minute to say what we are doing as on the Living Lab side. We are using this Internet of Logistics to share data between ERP providers and then with authorities. We have been doing exercises in the airline sectors. We are setting up a proof of concept with some of the eFTI for EU providers. We are looking to see also for an eFTI gateway with e-invoicing. But here comes what is important from the perspective of federated, and that is that these APIs to share data, the APIs, yeah, they need to agree to comply with 4 things. They need to comply with on the in semantics. So on a CMR must be a CMR, and consignment must be on API endpoints, on how to trust each other, and how to use linked data in an index and search mechanism. I say plenty of things, but I think this is what is coming in the next 4 years in eFTI for EU and eFTI for all. So eFTI is about sharing data with authorities, not with logistics parties. We see there that there is an opportunity to use the same architecture, the eFTI platforms in the future for business to business and business to government. We see there that the eCMR and e-invoicing and they fit nice together. We are going to pilot that in eFTI for all, maybe also. And then the message also there is focus on the process with your business partners especially, and don't wait for eFTI only to start today. So I see there 0, and I think I'm going to send my invoice to you. Yep. Thank you.